We will wait. There's Melissa. Hello, Melissa. You're muted if you're talking. It's Brad, one of our new ex officios.
He is indeed.
Right on. All right. Well, we are waiting for, I guess, 2 more people to get a quorum here,
Yes.
and we will take it from there. I mean, Kevin Huffman, not that he's voting. Oh, there he is. Speak of the devil is here.
Those are both of our new ex officio
Right
members.
on. Right on. So Brad and Kevin, just so you know, we can't have meetings if we don't have a quorum. So we are waiting to see if 2, which is 5 people, waiting to see if 2 more people join, so we can have this meeting.
Okay.
Only person who told me they weren't going to make it tonight is Bob. So
Yeah, he and Mark are usually pretty good about letting us know. Oh, we got Steve, Mr. Rust. And we'll see if 1 more joins. I guess it looks like maybe we don't have public members. Is that public participants?
yeah, not right now.
All right. What do you want to give it, like 5 minutes, Sabrina?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Naomi said she was coming when we saw her last week.
Yeah.
Like I said, Mark is usually good about letting us know too, so. Oh, speak the devil.
There we go.
There we go. There's a quorum. Hear ye, hear ye.
Third time I see you, I'm gonna walk in.
Hey, Mark. All right, we will call this the, what is it, the 4th of February meeting of the Arts and Cultural Commission to order. Now that we have a quorum. Are you recording?
Yeah, it's all good.
Right up. There's Janae. Hello, Janae. All right, so quick roll call. Brian Casper, chair. I am present. Stephen Rust.
Hello, Steve Rust, voting member, present.
Thank you, Steve. Mark.
Present.
Nori Gruden.
Present.
Melissa Matuska.
Here.
And Janae Sylvester.
Here.
Those are our voting members. We also have 2 ex officio members here. Brad Dancer. And you're muted if you're saying anything. And oh, thank you. And Kevin Huffman.
Here.
It's great to have you guys.
Yeah.
We got the agenda. Here we go. Okay. First and foremost, acceptance of the minutes. Have my voting members had a chance to read over the minutes from last month? I did and did not have any additions or corrections except for the usual, which my last name is always misspelled.
Sorry, I have to abstain, I think, because I wasn't there.
Yeah, correct.
Brian, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Janae. Brian Casper, I vote to approve. Mark Allen.
I vote to approve.
Janae Sylvester.
I approve.
Melissa Matuska.
I approve.
Thank you. Nori Gruden.
I approve.
Thank you. And Stephen Rust, we are abstaining. Okay, it passes. Thank you for approving the minutes. Okay, first, we have public participation. Do we have any members of the public here that wish to address the committee?
We do not.
Okay. Moving right along. Old business, finance review.
Brian, before we jump into that, do you want to have the new ex officio members just introduce themselves?
Oh, yeah.
all that fun
I
stuff.
thought it was under new business, but yeah, sure. So you'll notice we have two ex officio members. I will let the two of them give us a little hello and small introduction about yourself. We're happy to have you on the commission, and to remind everyone, our ex officio members are panelists at our meetings, but they are not voting members. They can weigh in on all things Arts Commission, but ultimately can't vote. So we'll start with Brad, if you wouldn't mind just saying hello, a little bit about yourself.
Oh, yes. Hello. Yeah. Glad to be part of this. Really excited to be here and part of this meeting. I am currently the president and general manager of WSHU Public Radio out of Fairfield. I live in South Norwalk. I've been at that role since July of last year, after spending a few years at WWE and about 25 years at National Geographic down in Washington and DC. So have a long history of just working in these kind of situations in Arts and Cultures Committee in the media world, and fell in love with Norwalk, and I moved here in 2021 and really just wanted to see what I could do to help out.
Excellent. Thank you. We're happy to have you. And Kevin Huffman.
Hello, everyone. And yes, really pleased to be able to join. I think, Norwalk is a city that, I've come to love over time. I, lived here for about 25 years and commuted into the city for many years. I'm a documentary filmmaker, worked for, many production companies there. But in the last few years, I've been, working from home and kind of rediscovering Norwalk. I'm a member of the film festival board here in town, and we just had our fifth film festival, which grew by 43%, which was kind of encouraging. And I'm just really happy to be on board. Also, just way back in the day, I lived in Pittsburgh, and I worked for a cultural trust and a nonprofit organization that was involved in building a cultural district. So I'm particularly interested in that.
Thank you, Kevin. It's we have some real priceless expertise coming to our group here. It's good to see the two of you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. We've moved past public participation, old business finance review. Is that what we're calling budget?
Yeah.
No?
They put the as they put the new agenda system in place, they have different names for things, but
Okay.
here we are. Hold on, let me just scroll through this fun stuff. Just so you guys know, this is like the above pages are like a breakdown of each line item that we have, and then the bottom sheet is like the summary of the whole thing.
Mhm.
So you'll see we have about $8,500 left in here. We're proposing some events, probably our first newer event going to be in March this year as an open mic night or something similar arts related. So that'll cut into this a little bit. In the past, the last event we had, we spent around $1,000 on the food and alcohol. So these aren't huge events that we're throwing or hosting. We get a lot of the spaces donated and time donated from volunteers to help run the events, but the actual cost of them is really just food and drink, pretty much. Any printing we have to do, which isn't kind of a huge lift on our end. So that's the only thing you'll see kind of coming up. We haven't spent anything since the last meeting that we had.
Okay.
Going in, again, this is the same thing. The first few pages are the breakdowns of each of these accounts. For the new folks, if you want me to go into detail on a kind of separate meeting, I'm
Great.
happy to do that with you guys if you are interested. But in general, we have about, sorry, let me keep going down here.
These are from like years past. I'm seeing Coolio's name pop up in here. And
Yeah, it's because those accounts might have a couple dollars left in them. So they keep them on the rolls. We have our maintenance account, which we've only used a little bit of at this point. It doesn't reflect that. Not sure why. I think I might have taken the money out of my own account to pay for the art maintenance that was done on the stairs. MLK Boulevard, we have the $9,000, which is for the traffic graphic boxes that were supposed to be done in the MLK project. Again, we've spoken about how to redistribute this funding to do a more cohesive outreach for the traffic graphic boxes. And you'll see in our Arts and Public Places program, we have, a couple $1,000s here and there left. So all in all, we have 27,000. Last meeting, we wanted to take probably like 20 of that to be able to do the traffic graphic program in a larger reach. I have asked the Transportation Parking Mobility Department to give us a list of boxes that we can do within that geography. They're working on it. Once we have that list in place, we can prioritize however many we want to do and put out a call for that. So that's moving along, just waiting on them for those locations. And from a budget perspective coming up, our operating budget hasn't really been reviewed by the Board of Estimate yet. That will probably be coming up in March or April when they usually review. And then for our capital budget, we asked for 150 for the Arts and Public Places program and 150 for the public art inventory. Once again, they did not suggest that we fund the arts inventory, but they did suggest that we at least get $100,000 for art and public places. So it's good news and bad news, but good that they're supporting our Arts and Public Places program. We also discussed the last meeting, the NEA grants. It is a matching grant. So if we wanted to do, our goal was to do the Heritage Wall underpass like right before it on Route 1. We estimated that probably to be around $150,000. So if we do get the grant, it'll be half of that price that we would pay, which would leave us with some flex in the Arts and Public Places line item. However, that being said, if we don't get the grant, we can always put out the wall for the amount that we have. So figure that all out moving forward. And that's really it on the finance side of the house. I will caveat those things by saying the mayor hasn't done a recommended budget yet. This is just finance recommended. So once we hear from the mayor's recommendations, those numbers can change. They can go up, they can go down. Usually they don't go down. Usually they're just some movements of some funds or recommendations for things that the mayor is prioritizing over the finance department. And then after that, there's one more shot, which is through the Board of Estimate and the Common Council, which are the ultimate two bodies that say yes to authorizing the use of funds. So this is not final by any means, but as of right now, it's looking, as positive as it could look at this point, I would say.
Can I ask you who's giving you that info right now?
It's posted up online. It's just the finance recommended capital budget.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any comments, questions about the budget stuff? All right, cool. Moving on, commission member updates. I think maybe only, I don't have anything. I think maybe only Janae based on these upcoming events, but they're so early, so maybe she doesn't. Janae, do you have anything for event stuff?
No, I guess
right.
I don't know if the question around what's going on with that open mic or like the context for that can be discussed at this time, or is it on the agenda for new business?
No, I think we
could chat
can
about
discuss it. Yeah. So we have a location. I know you had some concerns about duplicative efforts, so that's why I kind of left it open-ended if it's going to be an open mic or something different. I think we want to have the goal of having an event in March, but I don't necessarily think it has to be an open mic if we're duplicating efforts that are already happening in the city. So maybe another mixer or something like that would be beneficial as well, just so that we're doing something. It's really
just to give other commission members a little bit of context. Sabrina and I, especially on the heels of that event in November, as well as just, a little bit of a spotlight on us, just trying to keep some of those events moving. They're a pretty low budget item, but high visibility. So we had thought maybe we wanted to do something more on the music side of things. So open mic came up as an idea, possibly doing like a live painting battle situation too. And then based on how those two events went, a third event maybe in May, that would either be a version of those or just a mixer. And so right now really the only real work, so to speak, that we've done on it is that we are talking to Bar Bushido, which is a new restaurant on Wall Street, and I'm friendly with the owners there, about doing the open mic there. But Janae did bring up a point over email that there was already a number of events kind of similar going on. Then she didn't want to necessarily cross over or pull away from those events, and maybe it's better to sort of join forces with someone like Factory Underground, for example, rather than try to do her own thing. So, Janae, I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think, it's helpful to have that context. I guess I just didn't know any events were in progress or moving. And so I had, Mark, I don't know if, well, I assume is it Galliana, if I'm saying it correctly?
Yeah, we've been doing these underground, we call them underground lounges, even though it's on the second floor. It's kind of funny. But we've been doing these underground lounge shows, which are like, we've been doing open mics interspersed with them. I actually had some thoughts about the open mic, if you don't mind. So I had a music client I met with the other day with her mom, and this girl is like 16 years old, and she's great. She's been looking for open mics to perform at, but can't find any that are, all ages friendly, being that she's 16. So one thought I had was, maybe it's something we want to think about. If we want to think about having something that would be, for younger people as well as for older folks, that might be something to think about. And then the other thought I had was that, I don't really know about any other open mics in Norwalk, but if you guys know about any other, I think it would be good to know, just to know in general, because like this mom asked me where else could she play, and I really wasn't sure about any others. So if there are others, I would definitely like to know about them.
Yeah, Mark, what I was saying, and by no means do I think that we shouldn't do the open mic with the Taproot team. I more so just wanted to bring attention that there are other open mics that are happening. So I had mentioned Galliana, Mark, because I know, they hosted that first open mic, I guess last month. And so I went to that there, and she said that that's going to be a monthly thing that they're hosting. And so I had just literally, we were like in the DMs going back and forth, and I was like, oh, I'm on the Norwalk Arts and Culture Commission. And so like, maybe this is something where we can collab on one, or if there's opportunity. And then that just so happened to be the day, Brian, that your email came through. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
That's how it goes, right? I mean, Bar Bushido hasn't even really gotten back to us yet. So I would say, I agree with you, Janae, that joining forces with people who are doing similar things, especially if we're all kind of just starting them, to bring everybody's sort of list together and, really amplify the idea. So if you've already been kind of working on that with them, I mean, maybe we just pivot on the Bushido thing to be something a little bit different, and which is also why I included in those emails, just so, because, to defer to you and sort of what you want to spearhead. So I see Nori has her hand up.
I was wondering if we would want to partner with the library and do poetry, like slam poetry or something, instead of, I love the art, but maybe spread our wings out to do more of the other things we have. And we don't have the poet laureate right now, but do something like that.
Actually, we have a brand new poet laureate. We just haven't announced it yet.
Hey.
Oh, all right. Yay. But no, you know what I mean? Like,
but I
we
agree
could
with
even do it
Nori.
for April.
I agree with Nori. I think that anything involving a microphone could be, we say music, but it could be anything.
Yeah, open mic is supposed to include all of it. I mean, if someone wants to recite some lines of Hamlet, in a theatrical way, they can certainly do that at an open mic.
And I'm pretty sure, I think she said the Factory Underground open mic is supposed to be open to all acts. But to answer your question, Mark, I didn't see any type of age restrictions on that. I don't know if you're aware of them, but
well, we didn't have an age restriction here.
Yeah.
I was just thinking if there were open mics, if you were, I didn't know you were talking about ours here. I thought you were talking about others elsewhere.
There's the Eco Evolution.
I was going to mention that if you'd worked with them before. Yeah, those guys are great.
Well, the girl who run, full disclosure, the girl that runs the open mic at Eco Evolution is going to be our new poet laureate. but that's not been announced yet. But I'm telling you guys because I guess
I'll
I guess
keep it
it's
on
now
the
being
down low.
recorded. But by the time this gets published, our minutes, she'll know about it.
Yeah.
So. But that's interesting.
Okay, so I think maybe we could pivot and I can reach out to your folks, Mark, and then we can see if we can collaborate on the next month's
Yeah.
open
That's
mic.
smart.
I think in general, collaboration is always great. I mean,
Yeah.
our open mic here was cool, but it was poorly attended. And I think that's where collaboration really, really comes into play because we want to promote the Arts Commission, but we also want to promote the community at the same.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and I
Or-
was saying if we did end up doing our own, I think my point was just to make sure that again, we're not trying to like plan on the same night as the other open mics and they kind of all work together to support the community. So again, wasn't saying no, but I do think maybe trying to partner and amplify what they're doing with the Factory Underground open mic could be a good way to go.
Agreed. Well, I mean, I
And-
defer to you and Mark's expertise in this world. So
And just, I guess this would be an item for next month, new business, but I'm going to be spearheading Make Music Day for June. So we could do an open mic type event for the Arts Commission for specifically for Make Music Day, if you guys want to do.
mhm.
Now, Mark, are you going to mention a new business if they're going to do anything with the poet laureate? Do they need anything?
Yeah, I
know,
don't
Mark,
have anything for new
April
business. There's
is-
nothing in the agenda about that, but
Yeah,
until that's announced, Cindy at the library has been a little slow, to get that announced. But as soon as it's announced, then we can we can get into more details on that.
yeah, because April is Poetry Month, so maybe put it on the, next
That's
month's
good to know.
agenda to say, hey, we're
I'm
gonna.
embarrassed I don't know that, but that's good to know.
Yeah.
Brian, to your point about the poetry and the music together, there's this thing that I learned about from Bill called ecclesiastic poetry,
Mm.
which is kind of like when you write a poem in response to say a piece of art, kind of like,
Mhm.
so, but that kind of works with music too and painting as well. So, I love when you kind of mix
Yeah.
different media together. You could have a live painter, and when we do our networking meetings, you can have a live painter and you could do one music performance,
Yeah.
without
Absolutely.
making it open mic per se, because you just be, one 3-song performance can just add a lot of life to a otherwise,
Mhm.
simple event.
I agree. Okay, well, I think, ultimately we'll let, Janae kind of continue to spearhead the things she's been spearheading. And I think I agree, like, let's join forces with the Factory Underground since they're trying to do something similar. I think, yeah, I'm with you. Anyone else have a comment or question about events or open mic stuff or? Okay. Any other member updates? Melissa, maybe, I don't know if maybe you have anything with the website or even traffic graphics. Sounds like traffic graphics. We're waiting on DPW or traffic or something, but. Okay.
Yeah, the website,
Sorry,
hasn't
I
done-
was trying to
Yeah.
click the button. We don't have anything as far as the website. As
Okay.
far as traffic graphics, there was an email that did go to, and I did forward that over to Dr. Cummings over at Rowayton Elementary that they can paint their box, which they're super excited about. And so they're working on getting a rendering to us for us to approve.
Okay.
So they're working on that. But other than that, I don't have any. I would like to use some of the money that we have and get some paint so that way we can
Yeah.
do some of these traffic graphic boxes and then, also make the proposal that some money goes towards artists, some money goes towards paint to do some of the others within the city that need to be done.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Actually, the traffic graphic is called out as an old business item here. I'm sorry, I jumped over the
That's okay.
I'm jumping around. I guess we'll come back to this.
Okay.
Okay,
Sounds
anyone
good.
else with updates that we need to know about? Okay. All right. So one of our meatier items tonight is to chat about this. What has come up in past meetings, which is this mural request for qualifications and artist selection policy. And just to have a very, very brief overview, mostly for Brad and Kevin, we're trying to create a very transparent, we'll call it just selection process within our public art projects. And, to publish this and use this as sort of our framework for everything we do. And I'm sorry that I did not actually email this over to Brad and Kevin, although this was in the packet that you guys got emailed to, but I have made a couple edits to this.
I got something, you emailed something that I was able to read through it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe I left Brad off that. Anyway, so, Sabrina and I have, we spent a fair amount of time kind of hashing out a lot of this. And then last week, myself, Naomi, Bob, and Mark met in person to kind of chat through it a little bit further. And really, there are two main points that came up. This is certainly not final right now, but I think there's 2 points that I want to bring up and kind of open it up for thoughts and considerations. And under number 3, I'm hoping everyone had a chance to read through this. Under number 3 at the bottom, it says the following: the Norwalk Arts and Cultural Commission and/or selection jury reserves the right to extend call deadlines or to reopen the call if it feels that the applicant pool did not satisfy the requirements or objectives of the project. Artists may be selected from the open call or by invitation. Invited artists may be chosen from past applicants, artists with whom the commission has a relationship, and/or working professional artists whose work aligns with the project goals. It's that second sentence that was really the sticking point that we did not come up with a solution for. So let me just first say why I wanted to include this. There are 2 big reasons I wanted to include this. First, actually maybe 3. The first is just to allow ourselves an avenue where we're not necessarily only restricted to taking things from the call applicants. The second is that technically the Arts Commission, we can just go out and hire an artist to do something. I mean, given we still have to be approved by Common Council and all that, but we don't have to do a call at all if we don't want to. Now, obviously, we're not necessarily operating like that, but it is possible. And then the third is to alleviate one of the points that came up when we did the West Avenue mural, which was that we didn't really have any first off, we didn't have any local artists even apply, much less anyone from Fairfield County. And so this allows us to potentially extend invitations for proposals to someone local or someone not local who we think would just be a good fit for the project. The sticking point is that, what are we doing? Are we doing a juried open call, or are we doing invitation? And that those 2 things sort of are exclusive. And this language, I feel, and I'm by no means a legalese expert, I feel allows us to do either and or both, really. And to give just a very simple example, we put out a call, we get a bunch of applicants from all over the world, but we noticed that our good friend Jermaine West did not apply. We think he'd be a great fit for this project. We include him in the pool of artists, or maybe a past applicant, and then he's put forth through the jury process and stuff without really him even really knowing, and then potentially asked to do a proposal. So I don't really know. I guess I'll just kind of open the floor a little bit to see if anyone has initial thoughts on maybe not a yay or nay, but like if you love it, if you hate it, ways we can maybe change this language to make it a little bit more, I don't know, specific or not specific. Naomi's suggestion was just to remove the invitation part altogether, but I don't know that that's necessarily a good idea either. So if anyone has any thoughts, please, by all means, let me know.
Brian, I concur with you that I think it's good that you have it in there. And I think that the language that I do like is that we reserve the right to extend call deadlines and to reopen a call, et cetera. I think that we want to be fair, we want to be open, but I also think we have to have some control in the process and be able to, to invite artists. I think that that's important for us to maintain that right.
Right, because yeah, go ahead.
I believe.
I mean, because the ultimate goal is to have well-crafted, internationally recognized public art, and we should be able to reach out to internationally recognized artists who we admire to be able to do that.
And vice versa, and artists who are
yeah.
local that have just simply not, maybe they're not a part of call for entries, or maybe they're too busy doing work and we want to notify them that we have this great project going on and we think they'd be great for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's make it easy for them. Why make it so that, hey, we'd love to have you, but you got to go through this call.
Yeah, you got to do this thing. Even though we know your work and we know your professionalism, you still have to do this thing, which I think is absurd.
Yeah, to me, it's also like just making it as open as possible. And that's the, DEI is getting a better right now in world news, but the inclusion to me is really important, is that we include as many people as possible. And then we have a big pool of talent and we end up with the best art, and we've considered everybody.
Yeah.
So I guess just to make sure I'm understanding, it would be like the RFQ would be shared out, but then we would say, say we decide that we're gonna just use, I don't know, some a specific artist, we would just say, actually, we've sent out an invite for someone to fulfill this request. We don't need a call, or how would it work?
It's basically adding them in. So right now I'm only talking about the portion of the process in which we are seeking qualified artists. We're not looking at proposals, designs, concept, nothing right now. We're purely just finding artists who may be a good fit, because our process is find those artists, invite usually 3 to 5 artists to give us an actual proposal that is specific to this location and budget and yada yada. So this is basically taking something like an open call to see who we might find who's interested, then also giving us the possibility to include in this pool of applicants, so to speak, people who we also know about locally, internationally, whatever, to then extend an invitation to create a proposal for us. And that proposal does come with a proposal fee. We pay artists for work, as we all know. So if we ask an artist to do a proposal, they get paid $250 to $500 to propose something for us. So we may take these 5 selected artists in which we're soliciting proposals from, and one of those artists may be someone who was not from the application call specifically. It may just be someone local or someone who we know would be a great fit for the project. And we reach out to those artists, say, we'd love for you to put a proposal together for us.
Or someone we vetted in the past.
Yeah, someone who's from past applicants. I mean, I think of this from the point of view of an artist who has applied to these things. And I always find it so absurd that when I apply, they give me my rejection letter, which I collect rejection letters. It's really fun. And they say, we're going to have more projects coming up. We'd love for you to apply again. I'm like, well, why? You already know my work. Am I going to be a fit for that project or not? Why should I have to go through this rigmarole again?
I think that makes sense. I think I misread. I misunderstood what, like, if it was like, oh, we're just going to pick someone to do the project versus like just kind of moving them along in the process for selection, but ultimately not necessarily just picking them outright without going.
Yeah, not just handing it to someone. No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Then I'm cool.
All right.
Do you want to spell that out?
Well, we does go into
by invitation from previous applicants. Something where
it says
it's
that.
trans.
It says that.
Oh, all right.
And
Yeah.
we do go into the process a little bit in nitty gritty in this little bit. I see Stephen has his hand up.
So, thanks. So the second to the last sentence, or the second sentence in the paragraph, artists may be selected from the open call or by invitation. That doesn't that say everything you're saying in the last sentence?
Yeah, but there's always it's really important that we define as many things as we can define, basically. For instance, we've had members of the public come and ask us, what does a qualified artist mean? And they want us to define what a qualified artist is. Which is like, isn't that obvious, right? And I think I guess the reason that we put it in there was because someone say, well, what do you mean by invitation? How are you going to invite people? Who are you inviting? And we just sort of like kind of just spell that out a little bit and really make it as sort of ironclad as we can, when there's always going to be room for vagueness
Yeah,
here
as
and
soon
there.
as soon as you have lists, right, there's always something that might get left off the list. But anyway, just in that sentence, it's just, it uses the word artist a lot, and I'm wondering, does it read a little cleaner if it's delete the word invited? Artists may be chosen from past applicants, people with whom the commission has a relationship, and/or working professionals whose work aligns with the project goals. Just, I don't know, just cleans it up a little maybe. But yeah, as soon as you start getting into defining the list, then
I mean, I don't disagree that removing it altogether would be sort of, I don't know, the best, but define, best how, best in that we can do what we want now, or best in that, I don't know, it's just cleaner. I don't know.
And
Change the beginning to the pool, and so that would make it all artists, and that way it's taking out the word artist that you're wanting to kind of add.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe define what Janae was asking about, which was, wait, what do you mean we're selecting artists by invitation? We could say invite to submit a proposal, like specify.
that's good.
Answer Janae's question basically in this paragraph.
yeah,
I think it could be helpful because I did read the whole thing, but I just was confused by it, and I was like, wait, hold
Yeah, right, because we haven't even gotten into proposals and stuff. We're just purely talking about how we're picking artists. Yeah.
Hey, Brian, you know what? I don't disagree about that sentence, but I kind of sort of think that you could say artists may be that whole second half, artists may be selected by invitation, invited artists. To me, that should be before you kind of take the second half and put it first. Artists may be selected because this is all about choosing, selecting the artist. Then after that, then you say that we reserve the right to extend the call deadline, et cetera, et cetera.
Just flip them. Yeah.
Just flip it and make it two separate points, two separate paragraphs. To me, that would make it a lot more clear and easy to read. But that aside, I think I agree that artists invited for proposals, maybe, et cetera. Something to define that we're not saying we're choosing this artist for the project.
Final. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Even though technically we could do something like that if we wanted to, but
right, to your point,
we're trying not to do that. We're trying not to do
cherry pick and just choose it, and we're trying to be fair and say no. But I think that's what we're saying. We're trying to be fair.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything on this sticky word invitation before we move to the other stickiness, which is really gonna be, I hope you guys are ready for a good hell of a debate. Okay. I will reword and kind of reorganize some of this from this sentence based on these suggestions. I think this is really great. Really great start to kind of revise this moment in this document. Sabrina, if you could scroll down to the public participation part of this. All right, so the other part, so we're talking about how in which the artists are selected. No, wait, that's good. Up a little bit. No, it's number 5, I guess. Yeah. I'm gonna just, I guess I'll read through some of this just to give it some context, and then I'll talk about the sticky point. So first, is about finding these qualified artists. The initial qualification review, which will be a selection committee made up of 3 commission members and 2 neighborhood representatives, which we're probably also going to have to define. They will review the qualified artist qualifications. The committee will select up to 5 qualified artists based on their experience, artistic merit, and alignment with the project's specific objectives. The city and the Arts Commission supports working artists creating original work, yada, yada, no plagiarization. Number 2, the proposal submission. After then, those selected artists will be invited to submit detailed mural. Oh, this is, by the way, I changed words like mural. I changed it to just public art in the revised one. So it does say
Great.
public art now. The selected artists will be invited to submit detailed public art proposals, including concept sketches, a narrative, a proposed budget, and each selected artist will receive a proposal fee to compensate them for the time and effort. From those finalists, the commission will review all proposals and select the top 3 based on creativity, artistic merit, community relevance, and feasibility. And then those 3 finalists will have an opportunity to edit their proposals based on feedback from the commission. So just a quick little thing here. Basically, it's a smaller selection committee, like we've done in the past. Will review the qualified artists, present our sort of chosen 3 to 5 to the commission. The commission will say, yay, these all these people look good. Let's offer them the option to create proposals. They will create proposals, and then that will be presented to the commission to basically approve or deny those proposals, more or less. Now, number 5 is where we start getting sticky. Public engagement. Let me just read through this, and then let me talk about it for a moment. The top 3 proposals will be presented to the public for review through an online survey hosted on the city's website. The survey will allow residents to provide feedback on each design and indicate their preferred mural. The design selected based on public input will be brought forward for the approval to the Economic and Community Development Committee for the Common Council. Upon committee approval, it will move to the full Common Council for final approval. So, before y'all jump in here, one of our big lessons learned from West Avenue was that the mayor's office really wanted us to allow the public to weigh in on the mural design. And if y'all remember, we had basically already chosen the mural design at that point, which is why we have a humpback whale instead of a sperm whale, for example. The public weighed in on what it said, their preferred color scheme, and what animals to include. This is where it became very much horse by committee. We were at the mercy of what people said. You should see some of the responses Sabrina got for the text of that mural. And it just ultimately got too hairy to the point where when it went to the commission, the Common Council, there was this, well, why didn't they include this? And why didn't they include that? And why did they choose the humpback whale instead of the sperm whale? Blah, 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 blah. So at some point, we're trying to include the public in this. They should have a voice. They should have input in this. And the reason that Sabrina and I sort of landed on this was a little bit less of, for anyone who has dealt at all with a toddler, if you ask them, what do you want for dinner versus do you want pizza or do you want pasta, it's a much easier conversation. So by saying to the public, what do you want to see from these artists versus which of these 3 are your favorites, it starts to just narrow it down. We as the commission are basically meant to be the quote unquote experts of, art in our town, and we're the ones who make the recommendations to the mayor. So we did this as a way to help streamline this. Mark had a number of good ideas, which I will let him elaborate on, but some of this comes down to getting people to participate. Where in this process do we want them to participate? There are artists out there who make public art based on community feedback. There are artists who don't. I don't necessarily want something like an artist to spend time on a proposal and an idea only to have it then get completely edited and changed because someone really wants, whatever. So, I'm of two minds here. But I will sort of open the floor a little bit. Maybe Mark can kind of kick it off with what I think is, for his ideas, and then we can kind of discuss it a little bit more.
So I think that I agree that there should be public participation. But I've seen the negative sides of that too. Specifically and recently with in our Wall Street area with the new landscape project that's happening. They came up with this idea to do this archway. And then they put up a survey for which archway design do you like? And it just brought on all this, there's just so much negativity from people that just want to trash stuff. And it's like, and then I felt so bad, for the people that are doing that. But, at the same time, that's sort of like the position we're in as being, a part of city government, which is that we need to include public opinion, even when it's not always in our favor. But I think there's a danger when we take it, say, I don't know, somebody said, oh, what if we let the public decide on which mural? I'm like, it's first of all, the only people who should be weighing in on this are people who live in Norwalk. And when you do a social media poll or you do a poll of any kind, anybody can weigh in. Anybody can just say yes or no. And I think we should be considering people who live in Norwalk, not just people who just want to weigh in on social media. So I think that I think we have to be careful. I think we want to consider the public opinion, but I don't think we should surrender our control over the process to the public. So having said that, some of the ideas I came up with were how can we take public opinion into consideration without giving up our right to kind of not to rig it but to run it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a mechanism in the on the website now, I mean, to do this, right? To conduct that kind of poll and to verify residency?
I mean, I feel like people could just lie about their address anyway, but Sabrina, maybe you can answer that a little bit more specifically.
Yeah, so normally for these surveys, we do ask if they're a resident or non-resident. We ask some typical demographic information for the most part, and then we, depending on what it is, we'll ask kind of not exactly where they live, but we'll ask like what neighborhood they live in, so we can get a little more of a idea when it comes to that. For the most part, when we do surveys like this, the audience that follow our pages and are involved kind of in the processes that we've done thus far, they are from Norwalk. I mean, you might get one or two outliers that aren't, which why would they care about the archway in Wall Street if they live in California? But it's not significant enough to where I would see it being a problem, but it's, again, common practice for us to ask. And again, if it's our desire to not count the people who say, no, I'm not from here, then we don't have to do that. I think from lessons learned and what Brian said up to this point, I think the idea here is that the 3 proposals that we will show to the public are ones that the commission are all comfortable with.
Yeah.
We're not showing them things that we wouldn't be comfortable with. We're showing them the 3 that we think would be great. And that's
why we have the line about editing of proposals too, by the way.
Yeah. So I think that was the impetus of this, is not to show a final design and say, hey, what do you want to change? It's more like, here are these 3 proposals. Which one of these do you like? Because then it keeps that back and forth from happening. But also, it's something that the commission has already vetted and they're already comfortable with, rather than ending up with a final design that's been tweaked 80 times to be something that we're not really comfortable with at the end. So I think while I hear your concerns, Mark, and I certainly agree with them, I think this is probably the cleanest way to do this.
Mm.
And I don't think there'll be a circumstance where that survey is going to be putting out information that we're not comfortable sharing, or we're not comfortable actually installing as a statue or as a mural or whatever the public art is. I don't
Yeah.
think there's ever going to be that situation, because at this point in time, you guys have already vetted, the 100-something proposals, whittled it down to the 5, and then whittled it down to the 3. I think we'll have 3 really great proposals that we would all be comfortable with. So I think that's kind of where we were headed with this. And it, in my eyes, kind of makes the public involved and the public have a say, but not a say in true design work of what the artist is doing, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I have one
All right.
question, this is a question, just in your opinions, both of you guys, all of you. Do you think that the public participation should happen to where before we vote on it, on what we recommend?
Well, I feel like that's why we have
Or
the
city
two.
Common council level.
Well, that's why we have the 2 neighborhood representatives, that hopefully the people who were asking, whether they be a common council member or someone who just has stake in that community, has their finger on the pulse of that place. There's always a possibility of adding extra bits into the process where we, have sort of charrettes or things like that, where we invite, community members to come and talk about what they're hoping for, maybe before we even go to this level. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think where the reason I brought up that arch as an example is because, the traffic, parking and mobility people, as I said that backwards, but they put up the different designs that they had come up with.
Right.
And all these people were like, well, you left off the choice of none at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
And you-
yeah, but also like this is not a choice.
You get the people who are like, how about no mural?
Yeah. Well, which
know.
you're always going to get. Kevin had it. I mean, I have 3 hands up, but Kevin had his hand up first.
Sorry, yeah, I just had a quick question. It was about the neighborhood representatives, because in number 3 on your list, it says the selection of finalists is done by the Arts and Cultural Commission. So do you sort of lose the neighborhood people by that point? Or
Yeah, basically the way it's written now currently is that these 2 neighborhood representatives, would help us in deciding the qualified artists, not necessarily the proposals to present to the public.
Okay, yeah.
The way it's written now.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure, like, where do they sort of drop out at a certain point? And then I'll let you guys also talk about this, but I wondered if also in the sort of scheme of getting the public's input, maybe, creating some kind of not a checklist, but just a form, so it limits their, their sort of input. So you're asking them very specific questions rather than asking for just their general views on things. That was just my observation.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that may just be a more specific projects. I think some projects call for that. And some don't. Some artists like to work like that and some don't. So I think the hope is to leave it a little bit open-ended so that way these things can be nudged whatever direction they need to be nudged. Nori had her hand up second.
I'm wondering about only having it on the website, because to tell you the truth, the only time I go on the city's website is pay my taxes. So I'm wondering if in our budget, we could send out like a flyer that says, what we're doing to that area, or have the common council members who are part of that's their district, because that's my biggest fear is I didn't know about it.
Sorry, go ahead.
We were doing this mural and we talked about it for a year, because I brought up, the vines and where the vines are going to go. And it's like, in hearing, I never knew about it. It's, to me, it's like, well, what did we do wrong that you didn't
Yes.
hear about it? And can we send out like blanket everything and saying, hey, we're going to be talking about this, please, please, get involved, because I think limiting it to the website is a disservice to everybody.
Well,
I don't think it's going to be just limited to the website. For every survey that we've done in the past, it's on multiple forms of social media. It's posted in different community-based locations. It's not
this just mentioned that it's hosted on the
posted
site.
there. Yeah.
It's not that it's advertised on the site. So I agree with you, Nori, that there should be more outreach. And ultimately that responsibility, doesn't necessarily fall on us. We're just here to judge artists, I guess. But I agree that we need to do better outreach. But this doesn't say that it's the only place you can find it. It's just where it's hosted. That's really the language reads.
So I think
specific to that.
I think that if they vote, they should vote on the website. But I think
there needs to be one place for sure
to tell people about it, rather than have them vote on Facebook, which is what TMP did with the archway. I assume that's what they did, but
there needs to be one place. One place.
You don't know who is who.
Right. Stephen has his hand up next.
Sorry.
Mike, so it says the proposal would be, put out for public review or comment, with or without the fee.
Wait, what?
With or without, so that, would the public know how much the mural is going to cost? Or the various proposals, what is?
I mean, this is where it always gets hairy, because technically, they should, if they're paying attention to their local government, because everything we do and every time we ask for money and every time we have, we have to go for, against these financial committees and budget committees and all these things to even get the money approved. The call is going to have that budget listed, all of these things are going to be, and the proposals will say, their proposed budget. So potentially, yes, that it's something that if if we feel that it's really important to include,
I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure it is. I think if you put money on it, I don't mean to use that phrase. I know
what you mean.
If you put an amount next to it, right? It's
$50,000 for that.
Yeah, exactly.
So ultimately, this really isn't about the conversation about how much we're spending on it, because presumably those conversations would have already happened, both in city council, the budget subcommittee, here in the arts and cultural committee. All these things are public meetings, and we see how many public people are here right now. So, and this is where we got kind of bogged down when we met the other day. It's like, well, at what point someone's always going to say they didn't know about it. There's always going to be something or someone who's going to say they don't like it. But it doesn't say that we outline it here. I actually agree with you, Steve, especially when we get to this point, that it's kind of a moot point. We've already made these sort of decisions and allocated the funds, talked to these artists about the budget. That those conversations have already happened, mostly public, if not entirely public.
Sure.
So yeah.
So I just say, as part of, just to clear up or clarify the language, the top three proposals, right? It's not the full proposal.
Top three
it's
designs,
just the
maybe.
Top three designs or renderings, yeah.
That's a good call.
And to your point, Steve, I think, and Brian's point, I think at that point that we're actually going out to the public, we've already vetted the price point as well. The budget is part of that. So obviously we're not going to show $1 million proposal when we only have $100,000.
Yeah,
so I think by that point we should not even need to include the price in the voting aspect of it, because at that point we probably have 3 solid proposals that are in and around the same amount of money.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Does anyone else have any important considerations here, or major issues or anything with this? I did send this around as a Google Drive, document. Sorry, Sabrina, your Microsoft stuff is mad glitchy. So
this doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, so of course, even if something occurs to you later, please comment on that doc. You know, Bob put a bunch of comments in ahead of the meeting, as I hear. But does anyone have anything immediate right now on this specifically? And then I can also ask more generally about this entire document.
So the only question I have is still, maybe it's been said, but when the public weighs in, how do we take that information and incorporate it into the decision making?
So the way this is written now, basically, whichever one gets the most vote is the one that's going to be presented to Common Council for contract to happen.
Mm.
There's nothing that's coming back to the commission, nothing that's coming back here into this forum to flesh it out further, as it's written right now.
Well, ideally, these are three full-fledged
Yes.
final designs. We
Yes.
won't be asking the
Sometimes
public.
there's a favorite. Sometimes we know which one we love, and most of us, you know, there might be a favorite, and then when they were like, we have other two that we're considering, you know.
Well, I mean, we're spending public money, you know, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, we can also change this language from 3 proposals to the top proposal. So we're only presenting 2, you know, presumably, you know, we can present,
Yeah,
you know, the top proposal, period, will be allowed to be graded. Yeah. So yeah, Sabrina's exactly right. I mean, and again, number 4 here, we're only going to present to the public when we're ready to have 3 stellar designs that us as, you know, the commission members are happy with, that we've all basically agreed upon to present to the public.
So here's another alternative. What if it's not 3 finalists, but 3 designs by art shows and artists? Is that possible?
I also think
that-
to your point, Brian, I'm hesitant to include the number 3.
Yeah.
Because what if
I think
there's
so.
5 amazing ones that
Yeah,
doesn't take
yeah.
much work to put the 5 up? Or what if there's
Yeah.
only 2? Instead of limiting it, maybe just put the top final designs or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
I agree. That keeps-
Also, Brian, another thing we have to add that I didn't catch until right now, we should put somewhere in here that this policy is only for pieces of art that exceed $20,000.
Okay.
Because that's our like cap, our procurement cap to when we would have to do something like this. That way, if somebody's doing a traffic graphic box, they don't have to do this process.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. No, good call. And also, you know, and yeah, okay, that's great.
You can
So-
also use the wording of like a natural break in judging. So that way, you know, it could be 3, it could be 5. I mean, I feel like there's a way that you can word it to where it could be whatever we decide.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think just taking out the number 3
The
and
number, yeah.
top,
Yeah.
just say top.
I mean,
proposal.
I even feel the same way about 5 qualified artists. Like, what if we have 10? What if we have $2,000, $2,500, you know, to spend on artist proposals? Like, why not have 10? You know, like, so maybe some of these specific numbers should be, or maybe give a range. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe just removing the numbers completely from what we're presenting to the public and
Yeah.
what you guys are reviewing should just be eliminated.
Yeah, because I think, and also the problem, some of the sticking points of this is like every project is just a little bit different. You know, some are massive, some are small. You know, some are super community focused, some are more broad. You know, so
Sorry, just a question here. How,
Yeah.
these kind of things in the past, how many people have voted in, whether it's this commission or some other ones, it's sort of one sort of outlier aspect of what happens if there's a tie.
well, this is why I'm always, you know, especially with like the selection committee, and obviously our cultural commission has 9 members. You know, trying to keep odd numbers as much as we can. But yeah, that on this number 5 one specifically, you're right. We could have. I mean, and then I guess it just go to
the commission.
Arts Commission for tiebreaker, basically. So we as a commission vote.
Yeah,
sounds-
I think that's a good point to add that in
Yeah,
there somewhere just in case. In reality, we've gotten like the last one we did, I think we got 500 responses and there was clear favoritism.
Yeah.
But there could be a circumstance where there's not. So I think adding that in would be great.
I still think the West Avenue mural should say booty juice on it. That was a recommendation.
I had somebody had their Twitch
The Twitch handle, yeah.
on there. That was good.
Okay, does anyone have anything else they want to add about this? Or I guess I'll open it up to the entire document, assuming everyone's kind of read through it. I know the rubric needs some work, so maybe let's stay away from the rubric right now. I'm really just focusing on the language. Does anyone else have anything that really stuck out to them?
What is
As-
rubric?
We have a rubric at the end of basically grading both the artist qualifications as well as the proposal. And it just gives a clear picture of how we're basically grading these and vetting these artists. It's not just general feeling.
I see.
So we
Yeah.
have two there at the end, but it needs some polishing. So I really don't want to dive into it too hard.
Yeah, I think the impetus for this was that we just wanted to avoid a circumstance where someone from the public is like, oh, Brian's picking his best friend to do it. It's more like, no, we had a framework, we had a panel, we used
Yeah.
this rubric as the basis of it. It wasn't just like we picked people because of what we thought. Even though that's in there, obviously, like
Right.
the relevance and the theme and how their work is obviously a large portion in the rubric, but it's giving some actual measurable outcomes of the review process instead of just meeting and saying, hey, this is good, we pick this one type of thing.
I mean, most of my friends are gonna blow all these people out of their water. So, so does anyone else have anything specific they want to call out on this before we move on in our agenda?
I have a general question. Are we gonna have to present this to legal to have them review before we do it? Cause I would feel kind of a little bit better just to make sure that we're not doing anything.
Yeah,
mean-
once we have a final version, we would have legal look into all of it. They'll probably add some legalese into it, like Vera waivers and things like that. But we like to finish up kind of everything we want to say, and then I'll send it over and they'll look into it and make sure it has everything it needs. And then that's when we would adopt it as the commission.
Others? Okay. Great. This is a lot to chew on. I will make some of these edits. Like I said, this is Google Drive doc. Brad, I'll make sure I'll send it to you. Please add comments here and there as you see fit. And then I will try to meet with my subcommittee folk ahead of next meeting, and hopefully we can have something solidified to vote on based on that conversation. Okay, last item in old business is the traffic graphic program policy. Is this Sabrina or is this Melissa or is this both of you? Or?
It's me. Melissa's more on the execution side. This
Okay.
is more of the again, legalese side of stuff. So as I mentioned before in previous meetings, but for the new members, we have the traffic graphic program to paint our traffic boxes, but we don't have a solidified guideline document or an application. It was really just folks coming in saying, hey, can I do this? And someone saying yes, signing a contract and just executing it for the most part. So in the guideline document, we're really just going over kind of what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, from a legal standpoint, obviously, but also kind of from like what we want to see and what we don't want to see. These things were consistent with how we were vetting them previously, like the no logos, no, political or religious things on them, things like that. You'll see I need the size requirement in here, but, and it also outlines the selection process. Again, we didn't have that really posted anywhere. So it just outlines what the artist would have to go through in order to get a box done. Previously, there was a cost associated on the applicant side because they needed a permit to be able to touch the box. We've gotten rid of that, which is good. So essentially they would have to, we would either reach out to them with a call or they would come and approach us, say, hey, I want to do this box. We would check on our end if we can do that box. If we can do it, they'll submit a design to us. The commission will see the final design and either approve, modify, or deny it. And from that, if it is approved, it would go to essentially me. And then the Transportation Parking Mobility Department, and we would sign a 3-party contract with myself as the representative for the Arts Commission. Obviously, this is just saying, yes, the Arts Commission has agreed that we like this and we'd like it installed. The Transportation Parking and Mobility Department is really just signing to say, we allow you to do this on this box, that you don't touch X, Y, and Z that you shouldn't be touching. And then the artist signs that they agree to all of those things. So that's what this whole document outlines. And then the I didn't include the application because it's really just a, name, number, design type of thing. So yeah, I wanted to move this forward just so we have something up that's describing the process and describing how it would work for somebody to do this. And I wanted to have this in place before we did a large call so that the individuals know what they're getting into. The only sticking point, and I won't say sticking point, but the only thing that we've talked about a few times that I need some direction on is how much we want to pay the individual. We did say that the box can be sponsored by someone. They can put a plaque near the artwork on the artwork. They just can't make the whole box like a, Sally's Pizza sign, for example. But they're allowed to do that. Other organizations are allowed to pay an artist as well as the city. So we can either we can keep it as it is, or we can change this amount to a higher amount than the $1,000 that it has been in the past. But again, totally in your guys' purview to opine on that front.
So, with this, obviously, we're trying to make it easier, just for people to come forward and want to, decorate these things around the city. It's a pretty low lift for us and for the city. I want to point out that, we did talk about increasing that stipend. But we have now, you'll notice it says right behind it, this does not include materials. So Melissa brought up before about the city sponsoring the materials, and the hope is that we can have kind of a, because we already have relationships with Rings End and Jerry's to get materials, discounted materials for these things. So I personally think $1,000 is good as it stands, especially if it doesn't include materials. My only addition, I think, is we just need to find a place, Sabrina, here that I'm just realizing now, to basically say that we reserve the right to revoke, any proposal. Just to
When you
always,
say revoke, you mean to not take the proposal?
yeah, or like deny, whatever. Somehow we need to talk, because
Well, I think the Arts Commission still has to approve it, yeah?
we had to prove it.
Mhm.
So I get, but I feel like there's room here for people. Well, I checked all these boxes, so why can't I paint the big smiley face on it or whatever? Not that I'm opposed to a big smiley face. I don't know. I just feel like we should always give ourselves that sort of out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, again, something that legal will probably put in there at some point as
Okay.
well, once it gets to that point.
So yeah, anyway, I personally, I think this is all good and fair. I think the $1,000 is good. It basically
there
allows us
anything
to
here
save
that-
money.
Was there anything in here that that at any point in time that we have the right to paint over a box?
It says something about maintenance, and we can remove it and modify it. And it says, yeah, basically no compensation will be paid if you remove or modify it. I mean, modification falls under that. So
Yeah, essentially it's a catch-all that says if, the art becomes in disrepair and the artist doesn't want to fix it, or we just want to change the artwork out, essentially once the artist is done painting it, the city owns the artwork, essentially.
Yep.
And that's in the contract language too. So we keep that in there, and the reason for it being in there in the first place is like if a car hits a box, like the artist can't, get anything from the city for that. Like if it happens, we have to replace it, and it happens.
Right, because we had that once where a box got knocked over and the original artist was like, well, I should be able to, do the same design on the box, and we didn't want that.
Yeah, I think that language being in there, again, there's probably gonna be some legalese that legal puts in to protect us from that front, but that's why that's in there.
Yep.
Mm.
Other thoughts, questions, considerations?
The only thing I thought was, if somebody wants to paint a specific box, then it got to go to TMP to get DPW to get approval. But what if you get an artist who simply wants to paint a box and they don't have a specific one in mind? Is that?
Yeah, we are getting, to go up with this and the application, we'll have a list from TMP that gives us all the boxes that are able to be painted.
Right, cool.
And that's what we're waiting on for the larger call on our part, but that'll be a public list once we get it.
Others? Cool. I think this is super straightforward. So, we're putting this up to the vote, right, tonight to adopt this?
Yeah.
Obviously barring any legal, additions,
Yeah,
but do I have a motion to approve this as our traffic graphic box program?
This is Melissa. I'd like to make a motion.
Thank
To
you,
approve.
Melissa. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mark. Brian Casper, I vote aye. Mark Allen,
I'll vote aye.
Stephen Rust,
Aye.
Janae Sylvester,
Aye.
Melissa Matuska,
Aye.
Nori Gruden. You're muted, Nori. Maybe put your hand up if it's aye, or a thumbs down if it's a no, if it's an A. Okay. We're gonna assume she's abstaining. The ayes carry.
Oh, aye.
There we go. All right, unanimous. We found her. Great. Well, I'm so glad that this is moving forward. I'm so glad that I feel like this is constantly nagging at us to get this program moving, and I'm glad that it's falling back in our jurisdiction, and that we'll be able to start decorating some more of the built environment around us.
Brian, do you think that once we get this through legal and yada yada, that we can maybe do a public announce of the new revised program?
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to. As well as, I mean, I know Melissa's working on getting, a big push. So, yeah, it'd be great, especially if we could knock out a bunch of them this summer, and then just kind of a general, like, hey, is there a traffic box you want to decorate? Like, send us the address and we'll look into it for you, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Would be great, because we definitely always have like an extra, some extra funds laying around for these, or maybe every once in a while we can do a big push, but then for the most part, it's just kind of this open-ended thing for local artists that, they could cop an extra $1,000 to add some love to the city.
Mhm.
But yes, I agree. We should be talking about it as much as we can, just to show that we're also doing stuff. Okay, so I think next on agenda is just old business, right, Sabrina?
Yes.
Or new business, sorry, new business.
Well, I do have a question. Were we gonna try? I know that last month we said, let's wait till this month. Sabrina, can we go ahead and make a push to allocate some of our budget funds to paint and artists? For traffic graph boxes.
Oh yeah, we already did that at I think you
Yeah.
mentioned the last meeting. We have 20,000 that we're gonna push forward, and we said, around 5 of that would be for materials. But after we looked at what we spent at the large mural, we think we probably only need like $1,000 or $2,000 for materials and that type of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Especially we'll probably share across several of them.
Okay, so we're all set.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're all set.
Awesome. Thank you.
I can't wait. Okay, any new business? I don't have anything.
Brian, on the old business again, I just want to remind everyone that my hope and dream and everything is that we approve the selection policy at the next meeting, because I do want to include the call for Ely Avenue on the meeting as well next time, so we could tweak it in the public realm and then go ahead and implement the policy.
Okay.
in the process.
So yeah, again, I'll encourage anyone who has comments on that doc to please do it as soon as you have the time, and that way we can get this approved ahead of at the next meeting. Okay. Anyone?
Yes. New business?
Take it away.
Okay. What is the status of the cultural district consultants work?
Good question.
Yes, so we have, right now, the mayor's office has a list of individuals that we've proposed to be on the like steering committee for the project. And that's about as far as it got thus far. Once they approve that list, we'll notify the individuals of their invitation to be included in that process. And then that's when they'll start their kind of data gathering phase, which will take, about a month. And then following that is when they'll come to the community and host multiple public meetings, a general public meeting, obviously for all members of the community, but they'll also be meeting specific business owners, cultural and arts institutions that we host here. There's a few other categories of individuals they're specifically focused on. So we probably think that will happen in early summer. We did tell them that we're hesitant to hold those types of meetings in the summertime because of low engagement. But they're flexible, so we're happy to hear that. And then following that, we would see kind of what they come up with from all of our feedback. And then that's when kind of a first initial draft will be brought to the committee. The committee will make some changes, suggestions, anything like that that we see fit, and then take them back to the drawing board, and then they'll rework that in. And then we will go down the pathway once it's been, publicly vetted, committee vetted, commission vetted, then it'll go into the public realm for consumption, essentially. So we're just in the starting phases. I don't think you guys will see them probably until the springtime. But as of right now, we're just settling on the steering committee members.
I see. And who's making those selections?
We came up with in-house based off their list from a staff perspective, who should be included. It includes obviously members of the Arts and Cultural Commission, some larger institutions like the Historical Society, the Maritime Aquarium, Stepping Stone, Center for Contemporary Printmaking, those types of folks, as well as the Norwalk Art Space. And there's a few council members. I think there's only 2. And then the mayor's office will essentially review the list, say who they want to add or take away from that. Usually there's not many changes from what's been selected. And then we'll move forward on that.
Okay. And will it ever be presented here?
Yes. Yep. So we'll have the selection committee itself will include members. But as the process moves along, I will be giving regular updates on what we're doing, how we're doing it, and help to get the word out, essentially. I don't think you guys will probably hate me by the end of this process, because I really hope that you guys are super engaged with it going throughout it, even if you're not on the steering committee, from an input standpoint, from a public resident standpoint, all of those different things, and also from a business perspective, a lot of you as well. So I'll be giving regular updates, but when we're actually getting into the kind of meat and potatoes of the actual plan, we'll have the consultants come on and talk through it with us when it's in a draft form before it gets to any type of finalized real public consumption type of draft. My hope is that by the fall, early fall of next year, we'll have recommendations to look at and this commission before it gets fully put into a document and then sent out, essentially.
Sounds great. Okay, thanks.
Others? Kevin has a hand up. Oh, maybe not.
No, I just had
Okay.
a quick question, something
Yeah.
that the film festival is toying with, is putting together a list of film locations in Norwalk. And I wondered if the city actually already has one, or if that's something that you guys would be interested in.
Yeah, so we do have a few. We did this I think it might have been a year or two ago at this point, film locations.
Mhm.
But whatever you guys have additional, would love to see it, and we can send over what we have once I go digging and find it. We like to essentially say that we'll pretty much allow anyone to film anywhere.
Yeah.
We try to work with whoever's approaching us to be as flexible as possible. We've done film permits in 24 hours. We've,
Mhm.
kind of really supported filming in Norwalk, no matter where it is. A lot of times when we're approached, it's because they need a public location or
Right.
they want to be on the street, things like that. So we don't get a ton of them, because if it's in a private enterprise or around a private enterprise or on a private property, we have no say.
Right.
Not that we don't have most film companies will still notify us if it's happening, just so the
Mhm.
police know, if there's a large truck or something, like we know that it's happening and that's what it's there for. But we're really flexible on the use of city property for filming, and we're really flexible on film locations in general. But I will give you what we have, because we did organize it by I think we organize it by type of aesthetic. Like if you want like
Mhm.
an outdoor location, if you want to use a road, if you want to use a beach scene, if you want to use a field, kind of those types of things.
Oh, great.
But I will say that we're as flexible as possible, and we highly encourage kind of use of, we kind of make it work wherever
Mhm.
somebody wants to go. The only locations that are a little more difficult are school locations.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
However,
Yeah.
we've been using what used to be Briggs. I don't know what they call that building now back there. But it's off of Main Avenue. It has a basketball court, it has classrooms, and it's not used. So that's
So
a
it can
good
stand in for a school.
exactly. And it's
Mhm.
not a full-size basketball court, but they filmed a
Yeah.
Disney movie that was based around basketball there. So I guess it works if you
Okay.
film it correctly.
Okay. Well, if you could send that to me, great. And who would be the person who okays film permits with the city?
It's a mixture. So talks about ideas and locations go through me, through Business
Okay.
Development and Tourism. But when it comes to actual permit approval, it's an online process.
Okay.
But the city clerk is who actually executes and hands out the permit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's great that we encourage that more. Kevin, we haven't really talked that much, but and there used to be a lot more independent filmmaking in Norwalk, especially one time there was a lot of funding that came from the state through tax credits.
Incentives, right? Yeah.
And so, with something we've always talked about wanting to get back to.
Great. Yeah.
There's that they used to call this program the Hollywood East. I don't know if that was casual or formal, but that was the concept that Norwalk was a great place for independent filmmaking. And
Yeah.
the more that we can communicate the availability of Norwalk as a place for filmmakers to come work, the better for all of us, I believe.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Others? Anything else on new business? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Wow, we want to go today. We have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, Brian Castor, I vote aye. Mark Allen?
Nay, I want to stay.
Yeah, always. Stephen Rust?
Aye.
Rory Gruden?
Aye.
Melissa Matuska?
Aye.
Janae Sylvester?
Aye.
All right, Mark, have fun by yourself. I'll see you guys in a month.
Have a good day.
Bye.